Manuj, welcome to the Happy Engineer podcast. Glad you're here,
Thank you
man.
so much. Thank you. Excited to be here. Thank you.
No kidding. So, your bio is extraordinary, but there's so many parts of your life story that are equally extraordinary. And what I'd love to do to kick things off is actually go back to, age 15. And you've told this in many podcasts, but the Happy Engineers may not know your story. And take us back to India, age 15, that first role in the factory. What were you doing? What's going on in your life at that time?
I grew up in a small town in India, and in order to get on with my life, if you will, like it's a very competitive environment there. I started working in the factory at 15, and I was doing all kinds of like manual labor job, maintaining books, talking to people, anything and everything that needed to be done. I did it. I learned quite a bit about business, about people, about manufacturing, but also it was a very tough life where hard 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and getting $2 a day and pay
Wow.
was very, very difficult. So I wanted to change my life, and I had a lot of influence from other people who were successful, and I heard their stories. They were my neighbors, they were my friends' dads or parents or what have you, and I knew life can be bigger, and I didn't know what that meant for me. One day I was going through some business magazines and I read these stories of these business tycoons who had made empires, like huge empires starting from nothing. So I was like, okay, if these guys can figure out how to do it, then I should be, or anybody should be able to figure it out. I mean, after
Yeah.
all, they are
Yeah.
humans, right?
Let me ask you this, because this is an interesting awareness for that to enter your world. And I'm going to be really honest, Manuj. When I think about the stereotypical 15-year-old in a rural town in India, far from any of the major metropolis areas like where you were at, that's really unlikely that you would have those influences as neighbors or somebody giving you that magazine. Like, I'm kind of curious, do you feel the same? Like, I just got lucky, or does
Mhm.
everyone have that opportunity, but maybe just not everybody recognizes it?
I think it's the latter. Everyone has the opportunity. So let me clarify. Like when I say successful people in my neighborhood, I come from a state called Punjab in India, and there's a lot of people who have immigrated out of that state into different countries. They come back during holidays, visiting families, and they tell the tales of developed countries where everybody drives a car, everybody lives in a nice home. There's facilities available if you need help, free medical, free education. None of these things are like even remotely possible in India, especially back then. I'm talking 30 years ago. So just listening to those stories was like, oh, that means life is so much bigger than what we are told to accept as life is. And so to answer your question, I think if we are so inclined, we can find these stories everywhere. It's on you, it's in your personality to seek out what you want to seek out.
Yeah. What do
Yeah.
you think gave you that personality? Did your parents teach you this, or like what was that moment where you started to get more curious about what's possible for your future?
That's a great question. It's my curiosity to experience whatever I can experience. Like life is so colorful, so much variety in life. Most people, I'm not even talking, let alone India. Like I've met so thousands of people here in North America who have not stepped foot outside of their country or even their state. Their point of view and their life experience is so narrow. I'm not like criticizing them for anything, but just making an observation that if they realize how colorful life is and how many more experiences are out there, I just want to fill up my life with as many
Yeah,
experiences as possible.
I love
And
that.
yeah, and in order to do that, you have to seek unfamiliar territories. You have to step outside of your comfort zone because that is where a new experience lies, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I start saying how did you get from a factory in India to one of the world's leading AI thought
Mm.
experts,
Mm.
let's really quick, in the factory days, would you tell me, Manoj, what's the hardest, most nasty moment? What's your memory? Tell us a story, like
Yeah.
the hardest thing you ever had to do in a
Yeah.
factory at age 15. What was it?
So this factory manufactured industrial fasteners, steel, made of steel. And so in order to make that, you have to almost make the steel red hot, almost to the melting point.
Sure,
So there
absolutely.
were large furnaces in the factory. And in India, it gets really hot during summertime. So I don't know how much it is in Fahrenheit, but it's 50 degrees centigrade. So it's like, I believe it's like 120 or so in Fahrenheit. And the furnace is about 1500 degrees or something along those lines. So you have to work in that environment with 120 degrees outside.
Yeah,
And not only,
122 Fahrenheit.
yeah,
Holy
yeah.
smokes.
And the environment is smoky because of the furnace, like a lot of smoke, a lot of soot, dust. It's like, you just become part of that earth, or the dust and the dirt. You just become part of that. And when you come home, after your day's shift, I kid you not, like, you're completely black. You cannot wear a shirt more than one day. If you wear a white shirt, it's gonna be pretty much gray or
A
black
black
by
shirt.
then. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. From a health perspective, how do you stay hydrated? Or, I mean, it just sounds really challenging.
It is very challenging. The surprising thing I found is that the body is very resilient. The more you are exposed to germs and unclean environment, the more resilient and stronger it becomes. It's a surprising thing, right? Like, our mind plays a big role in this. If our
Yeah.
mind does not know there is something better out there, then it accepts our current situation as the normal,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
everything around us starts to adjust. Now, that doesn't mean that people don't get sick. I used to get sick almost on monthly basis, but then becomes normal. Like, it's, you normalize it and you say, hey, this is what life is. Everybody gets sick once a month, and so be it. Like, and life just goes on until and unless you realize, oh, there is a better way, there's a
Yeah.
better environment. You shouldn't be sick so often and all that stuff.
There's this big engineering life lesson to paint from what you just said. And we could probably spend the whole episode just talking about this, but how we normalize our current reality, tell ourselves a story, and how the mind controls so much of what's possible for us today. And Manuj, I could say for every single client I've ever coached, this idea, it's not 122 Fahrenheit working in a factory
Yeah,
and calling that normal, but they are calling their own painful situation normal, their own lack of career progression or lack of happiness or lack of fill in the blank thing as normal. I think it's so useful to just say, what's going to be that conversation you overhear from your neighbor, or that magazine where you read about the business tycoon that opens you up to new possibilities? So
exactly.
super good. All right, so here we are. And then where did technology enter the scene? How did you get your first taste of technology?
Yes. So after reading those magazines, I realized, okay, I need a valuable skill. I need something that can increase my value, and I can use that skill to increase my impact. Only then I will be able to get out of my situation financially. So I enrolled in a computer institute, and this was a small town. There was only one computer institute in that town, like, and there were like 25 seats or so. The fee was more than my yearly salary, so I could not afford it the first year around. So I sort of saved some money for the next year, and so I enrolled in the following year, and I just fell in love with computers and programming. Um,
Okay, whoa,
one
whoa, whoa,
one
whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. We got to put a big exclamation point on this, Manush. You invested 1 year worth of your salary into joining a technology
Yeah,
course, not
yeah,
even like a full program 4 year
yeah,
degree. We're talking
yeah,
about, okay,
yeah.
how many people need to hear like the level of commitment to your future that I will do whatever it takes? Like, most people don't even want to spend $500 to take a course, and that's a
Mm,
small fraction of,
yeah,
an engineering salary.
yeah,
I just love that. So you saw this investment, you couldn't do it now, and you just saved and sacrificed whatever it
yeah,
takes
yeah,
to get
yeah,
to that
yeah.
next
And
thing.
and I I did a lot of bad things. I actually stole some money to cover up for some gap that I couldn't make it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not proud of anything that I did in those days, but I mean, in terms of the wrongdoings. But when you are driven to do something, it's like, okay, I'm gonna do it come hell or high water. And it doesn't matter. I'll see what lies on the other side of the.
That
So
energy of drive, that's the unstoppable force of human nature. I just
yeah.
love it when somebody gets their head and their heart fully committed the way you're talking about. So what a gift. All right, you get in, you take this first course. Was it love at first,
Oh
line
yeah,
of code,
yeah,
or what
yeah.
how did it go?
Absolutely. I was I still am an introvert, but back then I was an extreme introvert. I could not like communicate with people, especially with the opposite sex. And I was like, okay, machines are so amazing. Like they don't talk back; they just obey your orders. And how wonderful it is that I can write a piece of code, I can have fun while doing it, but moreover, I can take a copy of that code and then I can give it to somebody else and it'll solve their problem. Like, how amazing is that, right? So, there is win-win for everyone. Like, I am enjoying it, I'm helping people, and you get paid for all this. Like, this is amazing,
This is
right?
amazing. What year would this be? Put us in context.
So, this is 1995. 1995.
95. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, still pretty early, and in some aspects, kind of beginning of the internet getting its
Oh
real
yeah, yeah.
grip
Yes,
on the
yes, yes.
world. Okay.
We didn't have internet. Like our the machines in our lab were 386 with one hard drive, like I think 100 megabytes or something like that, and one floppy disk, and no network, no nothing. So it was
Yep.
pretty primitive.
You can geek out with me here. The
Yeah,
happy
yeah,
engineers we talk about.
yeah.
So are we talking 3.5 inch floppies, or are we talking big
Exactly.
floppies?
Yeah.
Okay, three and a
We
half.
started with 5.25, then three. Yeah.
Okay.
So we
Oh man.
modern we got the modern version of it.
Yeah,
So
high
yeah.
tech, man.
Yeah.
Okay. I would love to cover all the bases between there and here, but I also know we have a lot to talk about in current day and your expertise in AI. So give us the fast track. How did you get from first course writing code and falling in love with technology to where we are today?
I graduated from that course. I was actually ranked seventh in all India. So I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. So I was like, okay, seems like I'm doing something right. And then I moved to Canada, and this was dot-com boom time. I got a job, then I lost the job, multiple jobs, like three or four jobs, because that was a period of a lot of unrest in the world.
Right.
Dot-com bust happened, then September 11th, then Gulf War. So I started my consulting company after losing my job three, four times. It was basically the same concept, technology consulting, but now working with multiple clients. So I worked with hundreds of startups. I worked with Microsoft, IBM, Pearson Education, generated hundreds of millions of dollars working with them, for them, building global systems. And then I had a lot of challenges in my personal life. So suicidal thoughts, depression, and that led me to sort of work on my own mind, my own understanding, my own personality, understanding neuroscience. That gave me a real good insight on how we create our own reality. So as I was getting deeper into myself, I was also getting deeper into artificial intelligence. So I did my first project on artificial intelligence in around 2006. I was getting heavily into that. So as I was learning about the human psychology, neuroscience, and I was learning about I saw the continuum between these two paradigms. Our mind interacts with AI and vice versa, and how they change each other and they sort of influence each other. That was the journey. And during this process, I got 4 patents in artificial intelligence, wrote a couple of books on technology, and just keep meeting like amazing people, like world class people. Even to this day, I cannot believe I have had interactions with these kind of people. And the thing about becoming a thought leader is, see, influence and credibility is like a contagious disease. If you stand next to a influential and credible person, you a little bit of that rubs off on you, like it's like
Yes.
contagious
Yes.
disease. And all of a sudden you find yourself, oh, I'm a thought leader now. I'm an influencer. So it's that kind of a thing that organically happens.
Yeah, I love that. Two things really quick. What you said, your first AI sort of deep dives began around 2006. Is that what I
Yes,
heard you
yes,
say?
that's
Okay.
right.
That's interesting to me because here we're 2023 recording this, and we're at what is the beginning of a complete revolution of technology around AI. Most people probably outside of science fiction didn't even know or care about what AI was in 2006.
Mhm.
So can you just describe really quickly what was happening in that world? What were you actually working on in 2006 in relationship to AI versus what we're thinking today?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
AI has been around since the 70s. So, in various forms, but a lot of people don't know, but it has been around for a long time. To answer your question, artificial intelligence is at a basic level. It is a technology that can find very minute, detailed patterns in data and tell us what is actually happening. So during 2006, 2007, first I was working with Microsoft, obviously huge system, tons and tons of data about their global customers, and then working with Pearson Education, and they had a large system supporting millions and millions of students. So Pearson Education is an educational technology company, and so when you have large amount of data, then you start to think, okay, what can we do with this data? How can I improve user experience? How can I help students get better education? And one of the ideas that we came up with was, uh, see, every student in a classroom gets the same curriculum. So let's say there's a classroom of 30 students, every student gets the same curriculum, even though we know that some people are more proficient in a topic
Yes,
and
yes.
some people are a little bit behind. So they all need a little bit of a personalized plan to get them to the standard of what education on that topic should be. So we created this algorithm or platform which
Yeah.
uses AI algorithms to deploy in a classroom, whether that classroom is 30 kids, 60 kids, 100 kids, or whatever. Every student will get a personalized education plan based on their level of understanding on that topic. So that was the first artificial intelligence product that we worked on.
Really cool. I love it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I appreciate the reminder that the ideas that drove what the AI revolution we're experiencing today began in the 70s. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Manuj, I wasn't alive in the 70s. So it's
Yeah,
that is a really good perspective though. This isn't like a thing that just happened here since 2020. It's something that's been in the works for decades and we're just
absolutely.
now experiencing that inflection point where all the forces are colliding. So I want to come back to one other thing before I talk about modern day. You mentioned this contagiousness of being a thought leader, and the data is out there in all sorts of ways. Whether it's health conditions, obesity, intelligence, in this case, thought leadership or influence, maybe as a personal brand, et cetera, where the proximity of who are around creates a shift, a change, and power in our lives in some
Yeah,
cases. So I'm
yes.
curious for you, who are the people that had the biggest impact on pulling you and rubbing off on you to become the incredible global thought leader that you are today? I'm wondering if there's any names you might specifically point to and say, like, these people changed my trajectory.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there are countless people, but I will mention one name. His name is Steve Sims. If you don't know him, like look him up on the internet. Very colorful personality. His story is that he used to be a bricklayer in London, and now he's one of the most well-connected people on the planet. Knows everybody in the Hollywood. Knows every billionaire. He even got a couple. They got married, and he facilitated it by the Pope in the Vatican.
Okay,
Yeah,
that is awesome.
yeah,
Steve Sims.
yeah.
I know the name, but I can't picture his face right now. I will definitely look him up after this.
Mm.
But so, Steve, if you listen to this episode, thank you for supporting Manoush and becoming the
Yeah.
amazing leader that he is. Did you have any signature story or moment with Steve when you guys met or were hanging out, or how did you get connected?
Yeah, I mean, it was surprisingly enough, it was through a podcast interview. So he basically, his way of life is how to build relationships and how to nurture those relationships. So I learned so much from him about how to build relationships, how to approach influential people, how to talk to them. And the way that my journey started with him, he told me in my podcast interview, I was like, how did you get in touch with the Pope? How did you convince him to marry off this couple? And he told me that, see, everybody wants something. Even the Pope wants something. So if you can figure out a way what he wants and give it to him, then he will be willing to give whatever
Give
you
you
want.
something.
So I said, okay, so what is it that you want? What do you like? And he told me that, well, you are Indian, so I like, I'll tell you, like I'm obsessed about Indian food. So I said, okay, fine. So I sent him a bunch of Indian spices that that I really like, and that started my journey off with him. And then one thing led to another, and he put me in touch with a lot of people. I put him in touch. Like
Yeah,
I also,
awesome.
yeah. So I sort of started using his method. He has got some really good books, so I will highly recommend people read it.
Okay, awesome. Well, I love that. And again, back to the extrapolating, it's not just about Steve Sims. Like, this is a lesson for every engineer. You know, someone who you want to influence, or you want to, get help from, or you would like to learn from them, or whatever. Do the lifting, the heavy lift, to go figure out what they want. Let's
Yes,
go, like, put in the effort, go find that out. And it's amazing what doors can be opened.
yeah.
So here you are today, at the beginning, or in the middle, I guess, of this incredible transition in technology. And I'd love to hear you frame how you see this stretch of history that we're living right now. And you made a couple comments to me before we hit record that I thought were really compelling, but just kind of lay it out. How do you see the impact of AI on technology, and really what's happening in the world that we're living in today?
I believe we are living in a transformative era right now. I think we will, for generations to come, will remember this period as when humanity sort of went from 1.0 version to 2.0 version. I think we are upgrading into a total new version of ourselves, because AI is so transformative, because it will actually help us sort of focus on what are the important actions that humans need to do. For everything that we do, there are 10 other things that we generally do, which are something that we don't really like. If you are running a business, you may not like accounting, you may not like finance, you may not like sales, but in order to run the business, you have to do all of that, or you have to hire a good team of people around you. But with
Yes.
AI, all of that will change. Now, I don't want to increase the fear that they will lose their job because of AI. I can address it in a separate question, but the idea is that new jobs will be created. You can expect that there will be one man companies going public in few years, because everything else will be done by AI. In my opinion, just like again, no offense to anybody who's religious, but I believe, just like we say there was a period before Christ and there was period after Christ, I think humans will say, there was a period before AI and there's a period after AI, and that's how powerful this is.
Wow. I
Yeah,
liked how you said earlier too, if you imagine the internet itself as a technology led to
yeah,
X in terms of
yeah.
transformation. Would you finish that statement again? What was it you
it
said?
it is going to be at least 100x, or it's not 1000x. It's a complete trans. The way that we think about life is going to change, because right now we think, oh, life is about getting a job, wake up in the morning, work till evening, and you get 2 days off, you get your money, and you spend your life. But in my opinion, I think work hours will shift radically. In my opinion, maybe we won't even have to work 8 hours a day, maybe 1 hour,
Mhm,
2 hours a
mhm.
day. The abundance that we will experience will be, it will be astonishing how much we will be able to enjoy life, in my opinion, because 80% of the world economy GDP, I think, is based on service based industries, and service based industries are nothing else but like banking infrastructure, insurance, and things like that.
Sure,
and
yeah.
that and that is only to protect ourselves from ourselves. Like humans are fickle creatures, right? Like we are weird in many ways. We cannot trust each other, and we do funny things sometimes. So in order to have a normal society, we have come up with these checks and balances where we can function. But with AI taking over, all of that infrastructure will be pretty much
Mm-hmm.
automated. So
Mm-hmm.
you can see, like, okay, this microphone that we are using, it costs, let's say, $100. $80 in that cost is generally just services that we added due to our own activities. So if that is automated, you will be able to buy this microphone for $20. So those kind of shifts you can start to expect. You can start to expect, driving, for example. Driving will be for luxury generally. Otherwise, the machines will do the work. If you want to interact with a business, mostly it'll be just talking to your AI and say, hey, I want to get this done. Just talk to
Yeah.
the business and get it done. So these kind of
Or
things
even
will.
more fun, Manuj, it's like
Yeah,
my AI will talk to
exactly.
their AI and I won't even
Yeah,
have to be involved other than to
exactly.
initiate the command, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I love this. We're starting to paint the picture of a whole new world. And I want to come back. You use two words that I think are worthy of spending some time on for anyone who's in this world. And of course, my work and a lot of what you do is interacting with engineers. And it's interesting because they're the ones building these tools, they're creating the AI technology, but also then they're on the receiving end of the impact of these technologies as well. So they're kind of living in both worlds, so to speak. But the words were misinformation and fear. And
Yes.
we kind of talked before we hit record today about how
Yes.
one of the things that's important to you is to address this and help people understand. So maybe starting with this idea of misinformation about AI, where
Yes.
are we hearing the wrong things or maybe
Yes.
taking the wrong mindset? What
Yes.
what is in that category?
So the biggest thing is that, misinformation from Hollywood, like AI is going to take over the world and kill humanity. That's one. The second one is people like Elon Musk are saying AI is dangerous. Please put a stop on it. So to the first one, I say, do you know there are millions of species on this planet, and there's only one species that wages organized war against each other, and that's human beings. And if another species like AI in my mind is another species, it were to evolve into something that can wage war, we'll have to infuse it with centuries of trauma, generational trauma, jealousy, insecurity, because that is what war is. A person becomes so jealous and insecure that they wage war against each other. So, in order for that to happen, somebody will need to sit down, understand, okay, what are these emotions? How do I create an algorithm for this emotion and plant it into an AI so that it can destroy the world? So, that seems absurd
Hmm.
to me. Second thing, Elon Musk and other people are saying, put an end to AI or stop it. On the flip side, Elon Musk, probably out of everyone on this planet, has invested the most in AI. Tesla is an AI company, and the self-driving cars is a product of AI. And those self-driving cars, by the way, literally killed people when they were testing the self-driving car
Yeah, yeah.
technology. And everybody on the list, pretty much, that said, okay, stop AI, they have vested interest in developing even more powerful AI. They are actually doing that, right? So,
Hmm.
you have to read between the lines to really understand what is going on. The second thing about fear is, this fear of taking over humanity or losing our jobs.
Yeah.
So to that I say, this is not the first time a technological revolution has begun. Many times it has happened in history, starting from the discovery of fire, or when the caveman walked out and said, okay, I want to kill an elephant and feed on that meat for a couple of weeks rather than hunting every day. So that we had to figure out, how to push a boulder down the hill and kill a big animal. The idea is that if you are able to stay curious and upskill yourself, there's going to be better jobs created. So a good example could be, before the internet came along, there was no such thing as a search engine optimization engineer. There was no such thing as a website designer. Before the smartphone came, there was no such thing as an app developer, right?
Yes.
So the idea here is that technology creates new opportunities for those who are enterprising enough. But If people want to stay where they are, no harm in that, but then they don't get to complain when they see other people making the progress.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. The creative destruction of technology, to your point, it's not just computers, it dates back as long as
Yeah.
mankind has been growing and developing. I agree with that. So, Manoj, two things then, and I think this might end up being the first of multiple conversations for us on the podcast because there's a lot of things I'd love to go deeper with you. But first would be the question for someone, even like myself, I'm just asking, well, where do I need to begin to catch the wave? How,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
do I upskill in the right way? Does it mean I need to go learn how to write code and develop these tools? Is it learning just how to apply them in my business? What do I need to do, especially if I'm in engineering? Maybe I'm a mechanical engineer in automotive and I have a very technical job already. What does it look like for me to begin being a part of this AI revolution?
Absolutely. Two things. And these are very basic things. Okay. You don't need to learn coding. You don't need to do anything. I think we mentioned during our conversation here as well. For every good answer, you need a good question first, right? So we have been taught in our education system to answer the questions, but I believe we should be getting better at asking better questions. So use AI to get better at asking good questions. So you ask me a
Mm,
question, how do I use AI to help me? Now, AI is 1,000 or 1,000,000 times smarter than I am. Why not just sign up for a free account, absolutely free, and tell AI, oh, I'm a mechanical engineer. I work in an automotive industry. I'm based in Detroit. I've 10 years of experience, blah, 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 everything. Can you help me figure out how I can use AI in my life and profession? And you'll be surprised at how accurate the answers are. And then the light bulbs start to go off, and you can ask follow-up question. And okay, this is interesting. Give me a specific strategy on how I can get there. Okay, that's great. Now give me a daily routine or a tactic that I can do to achieve this strategy and get my goal that I have put in front of me. That's one way to get started. Like, start asking questions and get better at asking questions, because when you interact with AI, you will start to experience your mind expand like you have never experienced before. Because every other mode of education is research and arduous and hard work. In this case, it's like literally you ask the question, answer is given to you. It's like,
yes, I love
and
that.
then the second thing is, start using AI to tell better stories. Because as human beings, again, we are not taught how to communicate with each other. We are not taught how to build relationships, how to empathize with people. And that's the strangest thing to me. We are taught physics, maths, all of these things, but never anything about how to treat a person sitting next to you. And stories, telling stories, are a fundamental way to build that connection, because stories make an emotional connection with
Yes,
between
really
us.
good.
We started our conversation by asking, okay, tell me your story, right? Because that makes me more relatable. That makes me like, okay, this person is not just putting himself on the pedestal, but they have gone through some ups and
Mhm,
downs to be able
mhm.
to understand what this is all about. So if you use AI to say, "Hey, I went on a trip with my son, and I had lots of fun, but I don't know how to express it." Like, because generally most people, when you ask them, what happened on that trip, they'll just say two or three sentences. But you ask AI to give you a detailed 2,000 word story, and then you tell that story full of details and full of emotions and memories, and share that with your friends, family, and you'll see immediately you'll feel a deeper connection with other human beings. In fact, I'll take it one step further. If something that you desire, that you want to achieve in the next 1 month, go to AI, describe it in detail what that experience will be like for you or whoever you are with, and ask it to write a detailed 2,000 word story about that experience, which hasn't even happened yet. Okay. Write it in past tense as if it has already happened. Read it to yourself for 7 days, 10 days, and you will be amazed. Most likely, you will actually experience that in real
Hmm.
life.
Manuj, this is fun that you would use that example, because one of the exercises that I've done with every client is exactly that practice of taking our vision and not just putting engineering style of metrics and goals to it. I want to make X dollars or achieve Y promotion,
Yes.
but to paint a beautiful picture in a long form and in written word of this is what it looks like and feels like and what I'm experiencing and these things, and then writing it as if it's already
Yes.
done, and
Yes.
to
Yes.
start priming and conditioning the mind that way. So I love the idea of using a tool like this to help you if that's not a modality that you've operated in, and maybe personal development work is new to you, to just go say, hey, help me with this, because
Yes.
to your point, it has the world's information at its fingertips to
Yes.
support you in creating that. So cool. Oh, I have 1,000 questions for you now, and we don't have the time to do all of them. But here's the one thing I want to, maybe in a way, I'll play devil's advocate here and frame it from that lens.
Yes.
Earlier, you made the statement that I think is very, uh, it's a really important one for us to emphasize, that AI and these technologies has the potential to free humanity from some of the work that we really don't enjoy. And it's going to open up this opportunity to really find out what is meaningful and purposeful, and what do we, how do we want to live? And in a way, it's, you could almost say, well, I'm going to work less in the future because AI is going to take care of all this stuff that I don't want to do. Well, there's some really funny corollaries to backing up even to like the 1930s and 1940s, where you read
Mm-hmm.
some of these advertisements for even like home appliances. And I've
Mm-hmm.
seen some because I worked at Whirlpool Corporation, and these
Mm-hmm.
old ads where they're talking about when you get this new oven and this new dishwasher, and with all these technological revolutions, you're not going to have anything to do anymore. And humans are just going to be sitting around on the beaches, not, and yet we have more technology than ever today, and none of that sort of prophetic picture of what the future would look like from those decades in the past has really come true for very many people. We're working more
Yeah.
than ever. We're working 2 jobs just to keep up or whatever. So, what would be the thing that would stop AI from having that intended effect, that positive effect in the future, and we end up with just an even faster rat race than the one we're in today?
That's a great question. The thing that will prevent that from happening will be if we underestimate the power of AI and keep doing the things like treat AI as just a catalyst to do the same thing faster. It's
Do
like
more of that.
do more of that. Like right now,
Yeah.
ChatGPT is being used to create so much more content, write more emails, write more blogs. And we think that's the extent of what the power of AI is, right? And we are just doing it more and more, not realizing that the other end of AI, which is Google or social media platform where we want to get attention, that's also AI algorithm, by the way. So if I just keep pumping out more stuff, that AI is going to learn that this person, is just pumping out more stuff. So I don't want to give them more exposure. So if you understand how this is working, then you can start to think, okay, just like we said, okay, how can I improve my life using AI? How can I find cure for cancer using AI? How can I solve climate change for AI? So if we start to really understand the power of this technology and solve some real problems and even use it in policy making, the thing is that humans are all biased. We talk about AI being biased. Humans are immensely biased, and that is because of our limited sort of understanding of what our world is all about. But if we collect data and then we rely on that data to make our policies, to make our rules and regulations, that is a much more objective reality, and we are not able to see that. Our mind is not able to see that. So if we use AI in those transformative ways, then yes, society is going to change. But if we keep
Hmm.
using it to do the same thing again and again, it's going to get even more complicated.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And how many times in our lives already have we used a technology in a way that's still limited by our own thinking? It just,
Yes, yes.
I just do more of what I was going to do
Yeah,
anyway, faster, and create more problems. Or
yeah.
people often ask me in coaching, like, Zach, what's your favorite app for X, Y, or Z? And it's like, well, hold on. Like before we start technologically enabling all these new processes in your life. Like, does it even work for you? Is this even
Yes,
important for you? Like,
exactly.
just so okay, I love that. Okay, we could keep going all day, Manoj, but I know let's leave it there for the moment. I know this is going to spark interest in the happy engineer out there to want to learn more and follow you. So, how can people get connected with your thought leadership in this space and just everything that you're up to in AI and tech?
Yeah, you can visit my website, manujaggarwal.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Manuj Aggarwal. I have another site where I list all my social connections. It's manuj.ca, so my first name.ca, and feel free to connect with me and tell me you heard me on this podcast.
Brilliant. We'll put the links in the show notes. Please do go follow Manuj and his content, and just so much to learn and discover, and let him know you heard him on the Happy Engineer podcast. Manuj, let's land the plane here, and excited to hear your thoughts. But what came up in this chat multiple times, how important questions are, and questions lead, answers follow. So if the happy engineer listening wants better answers in their life, what would be the question you would lead them with today?
So I will ask them to ask this question to themselves. If using the power of internet, Jeff Bezos became the richest person on the planet in 20 years, now that you have a 100x opportunity in front of you, what can you achieve in the next 20 years to transform your life with AI?
Ooh, I'm feeling the chills. I love that. Yeah, what a cool parallel too. If Bezos could do it with only the internet at his disposal in 20 years, what is possible for you in the next 20 with a 100x advantage?
Yes.
So powerful. Manush, thank you again for your generosity to be here, share your story and your wisdom with us. I do hope we can continue pulling this thread at some point in the future. And
Absolutely.
just a
Absolutely.
pleasure. I want to acknowledge you, man, for your leadership in this space. And
Thank you
uh,
so much. Thank you for your
yeah,
kind words. Thank you.
absolutely. Let's do it again sometime.